many times you as a director just have to learn how to be calm and absorb.
Honestly, every genre has been done. Every take has been done, because the only thing different in this entire thing is you and your take.
You got an acting offer pretty early on.
Worst decision of life, yeah, Smriti. I could have been a hero.
It was really hard. It was really hard because a couple of months, like, okay, where are my friends? So I was like, what happened? Please, somebody help me, love me.
Here we go to the nerd alert part. For the sake of brevity and for the sake of your understanding, I've taken the liberty to use a tool using steel plates. Really, I don't have a geometry box to make a chart. Do not laugh, please. Be kind.
So first of all, I think we need to update that promo. But welcome to DialMForFilms. The creator mentor today, Sudhanshu Saria, is currently busy writing, directing, and show running a new show for Amazon Prime. He's just been signed on to write and co-produce Delhi Crime Season 3, and his short film Knock 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 premiered on Movie India in September this year. I first met Sudhanshu in 2016. Actually, we spoke on the phone when his debut feature, Love, was selected for competition at MAMI Mumbai Film Festival. The reason I bring this up is because I remember taking that call in the middle of 8,000 things, and something in Sudhanshu's voice made me stop everything and listen. It is this quality, this effect he has on people, coupled with talent and passion, that has propelled him to turn impossible propositions viable. His first feature, Love, and his short film, Knock Knock Knock, being prime examples of that. Sudhanshu is a producer, writer, and director. He has also worked in development, acquisition, and distribution in the States for over 7 years before he decided to come back home and tell stories about his own people. It has not been an easy ride, but an exciting one. Today, Sudhanshu is here on DialMForFilms to share his vast experience in pitching project. He has been on both sides of the table. Let's pull in the creator that has always taken the road less traveled, carved out a path for his ambitions, and never taken anything for granted. Sudhanshu Saria, welcome to DialMForFilms, and thank you for making the time.
Oh, thank you so much, Smriti, for having me. And it's just amazing what you guys are doing, what you continue to do for the filmmaking ecosystem in Mumbai. I've certainly benefited from it. So it is absolutely my honor, my privilege, this opportunity to share whatever it is that I've picked up on my journey. And I know when we first started talking about what to do with this session, I think, we were discussing, like, should we talk about rehearsals? Should we talk about, like, how do you prepare for a shoot? Do we talk about, like, post-production or sound design? Or, like, I think every filmmaker nowadays, you really do kind of have to sort of train yourself in every aspect of the filmmaking process. And then this idea, like this notion of like, what about pitching? What about sales? That started coming. And I remember my first reaction was, yeah, like, why do I, that's, it's like, is that all I am? Like, is that who I am? Am I some like car salesman? Like, is that really the thing I want to talk about? Like, what about my artistry or like my shot design or like, the brilliant observations I have about like human life or like, how to turn genre filmmaking into it over it. But I think that first instinct I had, the negative instinct I had, made me really latch on even harder, where I was like, well, what is it about sales that's making you uncomfortable? Why don't you want to talk about that? And it kind of made me realize that like, it's considered invisible. It's this dirty, quote unquote, part of our business. We just like to pretend like, that, oh my God, I'm so brilliant that, I just come up with these thoughts and like people are just falling over themselves to make them because, humble brag is so brilliant when in fact it requires everything requires an insane amount of selling. I feel like, especially now with the advent of social media, in a way, everyone is selling all the time. So I think it's like, I think that's kind of where our conversation started about, like, should we do this? And I mean, I know what an integral part of sales is, such an integral part of your life, in terms of, like bringing all these amazing filmmakers and films to MAMI and getting all these amazing people to be on the jury and getting sponsors to do the festival. So it's something that, I mean, you and I started bonding on, and like, that's kind of where the session came from. So I feel like it's, let's dig in, like, a really fun time to talk about how to pitch, how to bring different energies and people and money and distributors and actors and partners and collaborators and HODs to take your little idea from a notion to something that people can actually watch and enjoy.
Sudhanshu, you're absolutely right. The reason when we were chatting, and I was very keen to pick this subject out of the many things that you could have spoken about, or you can actually really competently speak about, was because of the fact that we also do the word to screen market. And we are also in a position as a festival where I come across creators all the time, and people who are really talented, but there is always this gap of how do you co-opt other people to your idea that has so inspired you? How do you get more collaborators, more champions, more people to invest in it? And I felt that because you have experience not only as a creator, but also somebody who's made so many independent projects happen when you were working in the States. You were on both sides of the table. You've been on both sides of the table, and you know how important it is. So I know that you want to make this this session really count for people. You're really mindful of making this work for people who are listening, because there was such little practical information that was available when you started off. And you really don't want people to make the same mistakes that you made. So I'm going to dive right in. And I'm going to ask you that, Sudhanshu, usually pitching is sort of traditionally understood as a process where you're getting your idea either commissioned or financed. And that might be true, but would you like to speak about the larger sense in which pitching is so important to the process of creation?
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, maybe I'll start by just contextualizing something you spoke to a little bit earlier, just this idea of being on both sides of the table. So actually, I'm someone who had no connection to filmmaking at all. I found I loved cinema as an audience member, but I just never understood who makes them or had any notion that I could become part of that. I found it really in film school. I was in upstate New York doing film school where I met film students and sort of got into it that way. But after graduating, instead of making films right away, I spent some time on the executive side of the business, doing acquisitions for US buyers, buying films for us to put into American theaters. And then I moved to LA, where I worked with foreign sales companies that would travel the world selling individual country rights to different independent films to buyers. And then I did development and production on American studio product. Each of these jobs was really about working with other creators, hearing what they wanted to do, figuring out what they needed, and then arranging those resources for them. Now, none of this was helping me make my film or tell my stories, but I understood that the process was really teaching me and empowering me for when I wanted to tell my story. And so I did that, and then transitioned to filmmaking, came to India really to sort of tell these stories. And so that is kind of my little bit of experience in terms of both sides of the aisle. Now, speaking to what you were talking about in terms of how is pitching integral to your filmmaking, I feel there's another word you use which I love, this idea of co-opting. Sometimes it's not considered the most positive word. It's what do you mean co-opting? But it is co-opting. Every person you want to work with hopefully is extremely talented, and they have a good sense of self-worth, and there's a million pressures on their time and energy. You were in the middle of MAMI doing 8,000 other things, and what makes me feel so entitled as to go, I'm going to interrupt this person's day because I'm going to talk about like when are you slotting my film and what will it do to the audience and how many tickets do I get and what press are you. But it requires a certain level of delusion. It requires a certain level of like tunnel vision, where you have to believe on some planet that this idea, this thing you want to make, is so important that if it doesn't get made, something seismic will shift on the planet. Now, if you take a step back and look at it, it's clearly wrong. There's no such thing. The planet's going to be spinning fine. No one really needs this. But at the same time, if you don't have that kind of sheer vision and will and belief, how do you possibly justify getting other people to stop whatever it is they're doing and work with you? So I feel like that first pitch, it really captures your idea in a nutshell. It's really about like communicating to people, reaching out to them. Why is it that you're so excited about making this and so passionate about making this that they should put their life, their priorities on hold and come on board? Now, I'm guessing a lot of people who are here today are in the first part of their journeys, you know, younger self filmmakers. And I remember that, and I'm still not quite out of that yet, where I'm asking people often to work for me on my projects for little to no money. So, which adds a whole other level of challenge, because you can't even just tempt them with like a big paycheck where it's like, you know what, this is what you do, and I'm paying you for it. How does it matter if I've co-opted you? Now, setting aside the fact that the performance level, the contribution level of any collaborator you go out to will be exponentially greater when you have managed to co-opt them, when you've managed to, and we'll get to it in the middle of our presentation, this theory I have about like infecting people. You know, think of yourself as the carrier of your idea, and you are out there in the world, and you literally sometimes will get a microsecond. And if you find that microsecond and you're able to recognize that microsecond, you can prick them and infect them, and now they have the idea. And now they've gone home and they've thought about it and they're thinking about it and they're obsessing about it, and the idea, it's taking hold of them. And now they start to, and now it's not just one person trying to turn this idea into something real, it's two. And two will infect four, and four will infect 16. And before you know it, that entire thing has happened. So where does all of it begin? It begins with you being able to convert that little idea in your head into something that is so exciting that it makes other people want to say yes. So I don't know what gets made. I don't even know what gets made without pitching. Like if you aren't able to infect people, this is not the kind of profession where you sit by yourself. It requires collaborators, and collaborations begin with pitching. So I think it's like integral. I don't think you can get away from it.
So Sudhanshu, what you're saying is that basically, why don't you just break this down for us step by step?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a creator. I get an idea. I stay with that idea for a while, and I feel that I want to commit to it. Now, first of all, there's that stage, right? Right there. Whether you want to commit to this, you need to tell me a little bit about this. How do people, because I know every creator I speak to has had multiple ideas.
Right.
And stick to one idea. Not at least, tell me step by step as to how this process unfolds and what do you do?
Absolutely. Sure. So I know what you mean. Like you have an idea. There's always the testing ground for the idea, the incubation period, when you're playing with it, you're flirting with it. Do I want this? Do I not want it? What do I want to do? Tuck, tuck, tuck. And then at some point it starts to become. So actually for me now, even that stage of it starts to become, I really do use pitching during that stage to check how it's working. How is it landing? I test it on people. I'll just flirt with it. I'll float it at a dinner party, or I'll like mention it to a filmmaker friend, or I'll test it on a collaborator I trust. And sometimes the first questions they ask me, it really like forces me to start chipping away at it. Sometimes that can be your managers or agents or representatives or technicians you've collaborated with who are film enthusiasts, who you potentially look at as people you would like to work with again. And when they express skepticism, it makes you answer to that. When they express excitement, it turbocharges you to continue developing that. When they tell you, oh, but hasn't it already been done by XYZ? It forces you to go, oh, great. That thesis has been explored. I don't think I have a new take on that. Let me put that aside and use that energy elsewhere. So even at that level, sometimes like a soft pitch really sort of helps. So I already start doing it at that stage. I'm already like thinking on it in that very gentle level. I don't like, I'm sure Christopher Nolan's not doing that. I'm sure he's like, let me write my 500-page script because everyone's dying to work with me. So it's really about what do I want to do, you know? Not that I've spoken to him about it, like no clue, but in my head, that's how it works for him.
He's sitting and doing exactly what you do, sitting and pitching it to, people at a dinner table. I mean, I hope one day we get to hear from him. But having said that, right now, I mean, this process is, what you said is valuable, Sudhanshu, that at least one has to be convinced about the idea to launch into this long process that you're going to just break down for us. So before we get into that presentation, I want to tell everyone who's with us on this session to, guys, just open your videos, let us see you. Join us.
Hey guys.
So now that the videos are on and we can see all these bright, happy faces who are dying to talk to you, Sudhanshu, I think you can start the presentation and go for it. And, we'll just follow your lead. And also feel free to pull in anyone that you would like to pull in. Because, everyone except for a few people who got the information a little late because they joined the session a little late. They don't have that log line ready, but everyone's very keen to kind of look at the presentation that you've prepared and broken down each and every step of what, how, and where pitching actually works.
Absolutely. Happy to. Hi, everyone. So nice to see you guys. I loved all the questions. It made me I was nearly telling Smriti, maybe you should just toss out the entire presentation and just do the questions one by one. So I think either way, we'll get through all this. And I'm going to try and refer to things whenever I can. And then, like part of it is I feel like all of us are on different levels of the spectrum. And there are aspects that I'm talking about that will be very obvious to you. And there are other things that you'll want more details on. So, we'll try and modulate and sort of go a little bit step by step. I think, we already talked about the origins, like, why this session. The idea is to destigmatize sales, right? And thank you, Yash. So, I mean, honestly, like, let's look at this, like really basic, sales isn't dirty and sales isn't something you can escape. Sales is literally everywhere. You have to, you try and get a repairman up to your house. You try and like sell your fridge in a secondhand deal. You buy veggies. You're trying to get a date on Tinder, man. All that stuff is sales, right? All of it is about knowing who you are, being able to put your best foot forward. I know you guys, every time you put out a tweet or you're like writing a Facebook status, there's an element of second draft, third draft that goes into it because we know perception's everything. I mean, I don't know if he's turned on his video, but there was a gentleman, Akshay Jha, I'm trying to figure it out. He had a little photo of him like with his one eye closed and a hand up, like a DP or something. I mean, that sales, what we put up on our profile picture, that tells people how to view us, how we want to be seen. So
there is Akshay right there, Sudhanshu.
Oh, there you are, Akshay. I was admiring. I was very curious. I'm like, who is the winky man in real life? Because he was up there for a bit. So,
thank you so much. Thank you so much. So the purpose so that you talk to me.
No, I'm like all of it. Like I feel like whether we know it, whether we don't know it, you want to acknowledge it. You do want to acknowledge it. Sales is omnipresent. So, and everyone, you're allowed to be on a different spectrum of comfort with sales. You can be an extrovert who loves talking to people and is super social and doesn't mind it. You can be an introvert that is just supremely uncomfortable. I feel like, let me start by giving you the bad news. You can't get away from it. There is no version of filmmaker who is so like, oh my God, brilliant that, they've managed to escape sales altogether. I don't think even Martin Scorsese, Amit Datta, everyone's selling. That's why we put that little, look at that poor man. He's selling his heart out. Pesci's probably like, that take makes no sense. I'm not going to fall across the car for you. And Scorsese in that moment has to dig into every resource he has to try and convince Pesci that the particular way he's broken down the shot, that's the way to do it. So even if you're not selling because you want their money, you're going to be selling to actors because you want to convince them on your take. You'll be selling to costume designers because you feel like, that particular color is not right and the other one is. The minute you have an idea and you want to convince other people to follow your lead and take up that idea, there will be an element of sales that just comes into it. So the bad news can't get away from sales. The good news, it is something you can get good at. It's something you can get really good at, especially if you stop thinking of sales as something you can get away from. Dig in, it's here to stay, it's omnipresent. We're going to do this, right? So bit by bit. So how to sell? All right. So first things first, I think in terms of attitudes, there are like two things that have really helped me in my life. Like one, we already talked about a little bit earlier when Smriti asked me that question. It's what I call the virus theory. And so inception is a good way to look at it. But I really do believe that. I feel like once I have an idea, it's like a little ball I'm carrying around with me. And if I like your work, if I think you're a good technician, if I think you're a financier, if you're a studio, you're a film festival, you're someone whose recommendation I need, whatever, my job is to co-opt you, is to include you into that circle. It's to infect you with that idea. The minute I've infected you with that idea, you now have grown the circle. Now it's two of us thinking about how to grow. I'm not alone. I'm not by myself. You're a sounding board. You're someone I can lean on. You're someone I can test things with. And those early collaborators often are more essential than any financing to get your film made. They are the people that get you through the dark days. Those are the people that pick you up when the film that's almost about to get made falls apart. So I really think of yourself that way. When you walk into a meeting, when you walk into a session, you walk into a conversation, your goal is to transfer this excitement and this energy you have about your idea, right? You have to transfer it to the other person so they now understand what it is. So it's not about the detail. It's not about like sometimes when you go into a pitch, you can start babbling, you get nervous and you start talking really fast and you're like, it's a 35-year-old woman who lives in Texas and then she has a car and then she goes to the car, she goes to super, because you're like, if I pause to take a breath, this other person's going to tell me to shut up. So my goal is just to like rip through it. But the thing is, that is when you first make contact with someone, they're not standing there to hear a story so brilliant that they decide, checkbook kahan hai, ab bhi main to paise de deta hu bande ko. When you first get started, all the person is looking to do is, are you sane? Are you excited? Are you passionate? Are you cool? Are you someone they want to hang with? Then it's going to get to the next stage. So to me, while every stage is about transferring that energy and infecting the person, the early contacts are the most about that. More than the particular film you're selling or the particular series or the particular idea. It's about your energy and your excitement as a person. So really try and visualize that, this idea of like you having this little like infection and you have to transfer it to the other person. I mean, all of this is very scary because it's COVID, so you don't really want to be joking around with infections. But, I've been talking about ideas in this way for like 15 years. So I'm just going to use that theory and then, you can decontextualize COVID from all of that. Okay, let's go to the next part. So another person, super cool filmmaker, what a powerhouse of energy. And I know Smriti is already like snagged her and brought her down to MAMI for us. But I remember seeing a film independent lecture that Ava gave in 2013. And it was a phenomenal lecture. This was back in the day when I was switching from being an executive to a filmmaker. And I used to be in that, what I call the coffee phase. All I wanted was mentorship. All I wanted was a leg up. I was looking for Jesus. That's how I like to put it. You're looking for someone to save you. You're like, save me. You have all the answers. I am a tuchya prani. You are Param Bhagwan. Like, just save me. Can't I just latch onto your coattails and fly off to the, seventh heaven? And so I would obsessively look for people, try to get coffees with them, try to figure out what's the crack. How do I get a recommendation? How do I get a lay-in? How do I get a little, and Ava in that lecture, we should post the link somewhere. Like you guys,
We posted it on the chat. So that's
perfect. So you guys will have that. This is a phenomenal keynote. And she has this like theory she talks about. She's like, she was talking about how she was doing the same thing. And then one day she realized that when she was following her career that way, there was a stink of desperation that she was throwing off. When she walked into a meeting, she immediately came off as someone who was needy. Lech, like you give me your energy, give me your contacts, give me your experience, give me your career, give me your legacy. And she's like, one day I decided on my own that I'm just going to stop wearing this coat of desperation. It's a 40-kilo coat. It's weighing me down. It's stinking up the place. And ironically, that's the day she started to get help, the day she stopped asking for it. The day she decided, I'm going to go over there, I've picked my target and I'm going there. When other people see you with a goal, with focus, going towards your target, it inspires them. It makes them go, Arey, where's that person going? How do they know where to go? Why are they delusional enough to think they'll get there? But at least you come off as a person who has a goal and an energy and someone who's doing things. That is a person other people, ironically, seem to want to really help, not the person who's actually asking for it. I started testing this in my own life and I started to see it really happens. It really does come true. Instead of focusing all your energy on getting the coffees and getting the mentorship and getting the Jesus and the Savior and all that stuff, literally invest your energy in yourself. You have to save yourself. You have to help yourself. You have to decide you're ready and you have to start walking. And people who are ready for you, people who think you're worthy of your time, they are going to come and find you. And that ultimately I found to be a much more productive experience. So I bring that little theory up when it comes to pitching, because ironically, it's very relevant. The mood with which you walk into a pitch really affects your chances. It really affects the success you have with that pitch. What is the person's attitude? Are they here because they're already going somewhere and they just are looking for a little help? Or is this person here because they think they are simply going to fall down at my feet and expect me to do everything for them? That's not something most people have the time or energy for. Most people, ironically, are themselves looking for a leg up. They have their own goals, their own complications, places they are trying to get to. So, I get messages on DM and I get messages, anonymously, this, that, can you do this? Can you help me? Can you save me? Can you ba, 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 ba? And I'm reminded of Eva, and whenever possible, I try and respond. Once in a while, I'll meet people, I'll read their stuff. And I always tell them the amount of energy you've spent in getting coffee with me, if you had put that energy into your script, it would be further along. If you had put that energy into generating your projects, it would be further along. And I always like to tell them about the people I'm DMing myself. There are people I'm trying to get to. I feel like I've been messaging, one of the reasons I'm a filmmaker is Meera Nair. And I've got lots of friends who worked with her. But I'm to this day trying to make work that draws her attention. So she's my DM list. So everyone's on their own journey. There are people they're trying to get to. And then I'm sure there are people that Meera's trying to get to. So, it's like, just put it in context. There is no hierarchy. There's no grade of power. It's about everyone trying to go on their own path. So the sooner you find your path and start walking on it, you'll start to see the conversion rate improve in terms of the pitches you make and the times you ask people for help and how often and early they start to say yes. So those are two attitude things I wanted to talk about. This idea of you thinking of your idea as a virus that can infect people and excite people and really co-opt people. And the second, stop thinking of you are the ones with the answer. And the minute you decide that and you start walking your path, it'll become easier for other people to say yes to you. So I just wanted to those two sort of attitude things. So can we come back to the slide? See if we can pop to the next thing. So I feel like when you're talking about removing that coat of desperation, when you're talking about having that, walking into a meeting with confidence, I think there are a couple of components to that. And the first one is know what you're selling. You really have to know what it is. I'm not talking about a casual understanding of your idea or a, basic sense of it. You have to know it inside out, right? That's part of the preparation, right? What is my idea? What is the beginning? What is the end? What is the USP? What is the simple through line? What is the, what is the short version, right? And we are also going to talk about materials related to this, but I'll just sort of bleed into it a little bit. Do I know what the thesis of my idea is? Do I know what is the big, on an idea level, what is the big change it's trying to bring? What genre does it fall into? What are films that it feels like? What kind of business have those films done? What kind of actors do I want in it? What are the technicians I want to work with? What are the kinds of budget levels it falls in? Is it a theatrical film? Is it a digital film? Is it a limited series? Is it a 5-season thing? Who is the protagonist? What is the protagonist's biggest issue? What is their downfall? What is their Achilles heel? What is the love interest? From a very casual, superficial level understanding of your idea to a very deep philosophical understanding of your idea, to the business context on your idea, to the possible sales strategy on your idea. Now, I'm not saying you wake up in bed and you have an idea one day and all of this figures itself out. But figuring all this out is part of the process. When you know your idea inside out, when you understand all aspects of your idea, the confidence you're going to have, it is phenomenal. It is going to remove insecurity. It's going to make you sit up. It's going to make you talk to your idea with confidence. It's going to make the other person go. And I know this happens all the time. I don't know, मुझे पूरा समझ में आ रहा है, नहीं आ रहा है. I'm not sure if I fully get it. But he knows. People you're selling to now, they don't have the time to make your film. They have 20 things going on. They don't have the time. They want you to have the time. If you know what you're doing, it's going to become easier for them to invest in you, to trust you, to latch onto you. And some people start with business questions. Some people start with creative questions. No matter what they start with, you want to be able to speak to it. Initial pitches, when you first start pitching, they're disasters. Because every pitch teaches you what you don't know. That's okay. Every time there's someone asks you a question you don't know, that's homework. Sometimes you wing it. Sometimes you give some BS and in your head you make a little note, hey, ye figure out karna hai. But with every pitch you get better now. So pitching actually is part of the creative process. Every pitch that fails, I learn from it. I'm right now in the middle of setting up a film. I'm narrating to actors. Every time an actor says no, I try to listen. Does it apply? Is there a lesson here? And of course, there are plenty of times an actor will just say no because, you know, like I'm not Rohit Shetty. So there's not always a lesson in there. But most of the time, the people you're talking to are highly intelligent, creative people who've struggled really hard to get to the place they're in. They do have insight. They may not always know exactly what the problem is, but sometimes they'll have an discomfort level around a scene or a moment or wahan pe na yaar, it didn't connect with me. I don't care. I don't need them to tell me what's wrong with the meal I cooked. As long as I'll do the research, I'll do the digging, I'll do the tasting, I'll try it another way. So this is also how pitching can help you make your product stronger. But regardless, with every pitch, you'll get to know your film and your series and your idea and the thing that you're selling. You'll get to know it better. And you must have supreme, deep-rooted confidence, understanding of what it is. Which also means sometimes people will be like, you know, I like that film, I like what you're doing, but can the protagonist be a 25-year-old man? I know my idea so well that I know if I do that, the third act will fall apart. I know if I do that, like, wo wahan se wahan nahi jayega. Being able to speak to that with confidence and immediately, because you know your idea so well, can sometimes be the thing that makes someone else go, okay, you really have thought it through. Itna casual nahi hai ki a guy like me who knows 5 minutes about your film is able to come change your whole film around and you're like, yes sir, ho jayega. Flexibility is good. Pliability is good. You don't want to be like, you know, I know everything and I'm up for no changes. It's not that. But it's about knowing so that, you know, you can speak to it with confidence. So, you know what the best part about knowing your idea is? It's free. The only person you can blame for not knowing your idea is you. I love that because it means like I have so much work to do that nothing, koi kharcha nahi hai. Anytime it's like, oh, batti chali gayi, oh, the Crown is coming out in 10 days. Good, homework karo. Get to know your idea while you waste time, while Netflix is not loading, whatever. There's work you can do, na? So that is first. Know your idea, right? Short version, long version, specs, comps, what are like films, projected sales, budgets, HODs. And as you get to know your idea, someone will say, Arey, DP kaun hai? Who's your cinematographer? Now, the shortest answer to that question is, what? I have no budget, I have no money, I have no shoot schedule, and I have no dates. Why do I need to know who my DP is? The correct answer to that question is, you know, I really think Pankaj Kumar would be great for this. Like Pankaj Kumar ko koi kaam nahi hai, right? He's just waiting for me to call him. But that's not the point. The person is trying to understand, like, till what level have you thought about this? In my head, I've already cut the trailer, I've made the poster also. You saying yes is just the excuse I need to get started. Film actually mere dimag mein ban chuki hai. So that is also kis had tak like know your idea. all of it. Okay, so that is sort of like chunk one, all about you, know your idea. Yash, we can go to the next one now.
Sudhanshu, I just wanted to ask you one thing, right? One thing, sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to ask you that how does, what really connected with me when you were talking about this was that how much of that idea, my idea is my responsibility. Because I come across a lot of bright people, a lot of amazing creators or creators in the wings, where sometimes a victim complex sets in, that the world doesn't get it, and ye to itna acha idea hai, lekin kisi ko samajh bhi nahi aa raha. The other thing is, and then you start to get depressed and you start to, kind of go in all sorts of wrong directions.
Yeah.
Second thing is what you spoke about, and which is why we are doing this session, that the thing is that pitching is not a dirty job, and it's not a job that is left for a producer type of person. और सूट आएगा वो करेगा, मैं तो इतना आर्टिस्टिक हूँ या इतनी आर्टिस्टिक हूँ कि ये सेलिंग वेलिंग आई एम सो चैलेंज, आई रियली वांट टू ब्रेक दैट break that mindset right now, because the thing is कि you're the germinator of that idea, right? You need to carry it through, nobody else carries it for you, right? So I really want you to kind of break it down a little more and then move on to the next one.
Fine, absolutely. So something very rude and brutal I tell people, especially when other filmmakers come to me, either because they want me to produce or because, sales or like advice or this, that, or whatever, or what Smriti is talking about. Sometimes self-pity sets in. So I try to be empathetic, but that's not my strong suit. I think tough love is more like my area of expertise. And so I always go with no one cares. No one wants your film. Really, people will pay you money not to make your film. There are too many films and no one is watching. If you can afford not to make your film, please don't make it. You still want to make it? Do the work. No one owes you a film. The world has not decided कि यार कुणाल चोपड़ा साहब का genius, मतलब इतने ऊंचे कलाकार हैं वो. We must all बिछाओ ourselves in order to खड़े हो जाते हैं उनकी film बनाने के लिए. World really doesn't need you. You need the world. You need financing. You need distributors. You need producers, actors, collaborators. Please, let's not judge them. Let's give them the respect they deserve. They have worked very hard to get to a place where you need them. Let's understand, what do they have to teach you? How can they take your idea, which they're not relating to, and find elements of relatability, elements of saleability, elements of financial sense? Now, believe me, I'm talking as a guy who made a queer road trip movie about 3 gay dudes in a country where homosexuality at that time was criminal. Censor certificate, so no one will give me. Theatrical exhibition is guaranteed not going to happen. Netflix has not even come to India. So I have gone around and made people give me money for this film that is sure to never be seen by any human. It can be done. That's the good news. The bad news is, if you feel bad for yourself, it's not going to happen. Please don't sit at home and blame other people for not getting it. It's not their job to get it. It's your job to make them get it. So let's work hard now. Let's figure out like ways to talk other people's language. And Smriti, ironically, this leads very nicely to our next section, which is know who you're selling to. You have to know your idea really well. And when you get to your pitch, you have to know the person you're pitching to. You have to know who you're selling to, right? So let's go to the next part, the next slide. So basically, I think insecurity really comes when you think of yourself as someone who needs and the other person as someone who provides. This is not true. One-sided relationships rarely work. There always, in a successful relationship, is going to be mutual interest. It's your job to find it. It's your job to research and understand the person you're selling to so well that you can figure out what it is that they want. Then figure out what of those things are you able to provide. For example, if I'm a starting filmmaker, I'm able to provide easy access. I'm able to provide constant availability. I'm able to provide insane work ethic. I'm able to provide cheap labor. I'm able to provide unlimited amounts of free rewrites. I'm able to provide free ka pre-production that is done before the project is even greenlit. I'm able to provide a pitch book and a poster and a trailer and an audio book and everything you need in order to be convinced that I know how to make this, I will do for free in advance. Established filmmakers won't do that. So when a producer is looking at a filmmaker who's already successful, they pretty much know I have to pay them money to discover if this idea even works. Because an established filmmaker is not going to free me dance for me to help me understand whether this idea works or not. So play to your strengths. What is the mutual benefit? If I'm going to, like, I remember when I was a producer, there were people who would come and pitch reality shows. I'm like, look at my resume. Have I done a reality show? What makes you think I'll do a reality show? On the other hand, if I've made a film like Love, and every story I'm getting is some gay, queer love story, then I have to make sure that my resume is wider than that, so different kinds of things start coming to me. So you exist. It is our responsibility now, especially with social media. You can really research the person. You can figure out what their tastes are, what is it they're looking for, what kind of stories do they like, are they looking to make digital, are they theatrical only, do they have access to a particular star, do they not work in certain kind of genre, or the technicians you want to collaborate with, are they realists, are they studio people, do they do do they want to, are they thirsting to do that indie film? Like I remember when I wrote Knock Knock Knock, I wrote it for Mithun Chakrabarti. My first phone call with him, I researched it a lot before I called him. And when I called him, I was like, I can't give him what he already has. I can't give him Rohit Shetty. Right? I can't give him that big budget Bollywood blockbuster. I'm not able to provide it. I'm not even capable of it. So I called him up and said, I want to give you your 8th National Award nomination. The world has forgotten what an accomplished, phenomenal, fantastic actor you are. I want to remind them you're better than the dance chair you sit on. I went for it. It could have been incredibly rude. That was my pitch. And it landed. And he called me and said, come meet me. I want to hear your story. Believe me, he could have said, who the hell are you? Right? He could have easily been like, you don't get to have a perspective on my career and what I should do and shouldn't do and what I won't do and will do. I don't blame him. But I'm like, I did my research. I was like, maybe this is a mutual benefit here. Because that man really has nothing left to prove to anyone. So what can I bring to the table? Why would he say yes to me? Once you find that mutual benefit, once you find and the mutual benefit always comes out of research. Once you find that mutual benefit, it gives you an incredible confidence. You're walking into the meeting with an infection idea that you are going to pass on, which you know really well. And you also now know where their vulnerability spot is. Isko na, rib cage ke niche, this person has been hurt. There's my vulnerability. If I'm able to land one uppercut on that lower rib, knockout ho sakta hai. As opposed to, I'll walk into a room and say, I have an idea. And like, who's the person? What do they do? You know nothing. Why would you put yourself in this incredibly weak position? It's stupid, na? Again, researching the person is, what is that word? Free. What is the excuse? Right? So know your idea, know who you want. And when I say know who you want, na, sometimes when people ask, one of the questions on the list was, who do I pitch it to? Who do I sell it to? I'm like, that's knowing what you want. That is part of that. Once you know your idea really well, you now have to look for people to whom that idea might be attractive. People often are like, what are financiers? Paid pe ugte hain kya? Like, do I go to which stall in Juhu Beach do I find a financier? Like, is there some secret club they sit in? You know, it's so funny. All this information is out there in public domain, free of cost. Any film you like was financed by someone. Unka naam credit mein aata hai. All you have to do is go scroll to the film, pause on that slate and take some notes. Then start doing the research. I mean, if you're dating in 2020, it's pretty normal that you're a stalker. It's pretty much a done deal. So let's not even joke around. You can figure out the color of somebody's underpants in 15 minutes. I know that. So if you haven't done it, it's because you haven't done the work. There's no bahana, no excuse. Right? So know who I'm selling to, essential. Do the background research. What do they want? What have they done? Sometimes speaking to it with accuracy earns you their respect in the room. If I'm a producer, if I'm a financier and you've come to me, part of what I'm evaluating now, can this Rishabh go out and convince that actress? Can this Rishabh go out and get that technician? Can he get मैं कितना करूंगा, लास्ट में बंदे को स्पार्क करना है. Like, will Nehal be good in the room? If I put Nehal in the same room as Shraddha Kapoor, will Nehal be able to convince her? I'm like, Ghanta convince her. She doesn't even know what I do. She has not done any prep. On the other hand, if she is operating with a razor sharp knife, firing her little ninja stars, I'm like, Top, I just have to put her in the room. She'll khatam karo anyone who comes. Good, na? I'm like, one more problem solved. I just have to set the meeting. Sara ye karne ko taiyar hai. She's done her work. So it inspires confidence in other people. Because how you behave with me, I'm assuming you'll behave like that with other people. You know? So I think those are the two free ka kaam that we have to do. Okay, Yash. This is also free. Ye bhi free mein ho sakta hai. Okay, so what does this mean? Often I come across people, filmmakers sometimes will call me up saying, listen, help me out with this. I have to do this deal. I'm not able to figure this out. Or like, like, oh my God, I hate pitching or narration. Sometimes people think that this comes naturally to me, or in your lives, maybe it comes naturally to you, or there are people you look at and say, yeah, look at that guy, man, or look at that girl, woman, like, this person just knows how to pitch. I wish I had that superpower. The biggest myth busting here, yeah, exactly. The biggest myth here is there is no superpower and it comes easily to nobody. Or everyone has to rehearse. I wish I could show you video of me in my flat going on the phone talking to myself, trying the answer, remodulating it, trying the answer, remodulating it, trying a pitch, remodulating it. In every narration, in every pitch, I make changes to what I would do. Sometimes the best way to prepare is to pitch it 20 times. The important things that are working, wo yaad reh jayega. The things that are not working, wo bhool jaoge. You'll discover there is a line, if I go down this line, it leads me to a dead end. Yahan jana hi nahi hai. It takes shaping and cutting and carving and chipping. It takes rehearsal. As an executive who used to take creatives into studios to get them to sell their ideas, I would do that all the time. I would save them from going into dark alleys. I would ask them leading questions. Smriti did that with me today. Smriti's like, I know tujhe kahan jana hai, but she's also got her third eye open. If he meanders off, she'll ask a question as if usko sab pata nahi hai already. But she'll ask me the right question to lead me down the right path. Your producer can do that for you sometimes. I also love when I have a producer, when I have an agent, I love sometimes taking them to meetings because they can praise you. You can't, na? I can't open the session by saying, oh, Sudhanshu has the singular vision and he has done these impossible ideas. I need my Smriti to do that. Get yourselves a Smriti. To get yourself a Smriti also, you'll need to pitch. So pitching to kahin nahi ja raha, boss, wo karna hi karna hai. Right? But because you know now the mutual benefit trick, you'll be like, what does Smriti want? Smriti wants Mumbai filmmakers to succeed. That's what she wants. Forget Mumbai, she wants Indian filmmakers to succeed. So now if I can do something which is of value to Indian filmmakers, Smriti is in my camp, I have co-opted her now. So you know your shit, you know the mutual benefit, and now you know the rehearse practice. And you can pakao all your friends. If someone loves you enough, they'll hear you pitch. Initially, they'll be excited, like, oh my God, I'm part of the privileged circle and all. After the third time, they'll be like, oh my God, he's coming, I have to run. I have to run. It doesn't matter. You also do things for them. They will hear you out. If you can fascinate them the fifth time, then you know you've got it. And rehearsing this is part of knowing your stuff. So when you walk into a room, there's no element of doubt. You know the minute I say my first word, khatam hone wala hai. But be careful about something. Sometimes when we are practicing and rehearsing, we are having a one-way conversation with ourselves. Hai na? The other person is not there only. When you go into a room, remember the other person is a real breathing person, not a mirror or a doll or a putla. It's a conversation. Don't be talking at them. Be like listening and conversing. Pay attention to the curiosities they have. What are the specific questions and areas that they are interested in? Maybe you have a brilliant creative pitch and वो तुमको 10% पे रोक देंगे because they're like ऐसी कहानी नहीं करनी. Don't then become crazy and start jamming that. Have a conversation about something else. Maybe what will come out of the meeting is, oh, I like you, you like me, but this idea isn't working for us, but let's find something else to do. No problem. Hai na? So coming back to it, rehearsing is also essential. Now, if you notice, knowing your idea, researching the other person, finding mutual benefit and rehearsing. All of this are components of confidence. And confidence is what you need to take off that coat of desperation that Eva talked about. All of this is also helping you with the goal of infecting other people. So far so good. We are moving in one sutra. Okay. Yash ji, let's go. Next guy. Materials chahiye hote hain. Also part of confidence building, to know what it is, how do you sell things. Okay, let's see. What materials do you need? You need a log line. You guys talked about this, hai na? So let's come back to the grid view. Let's come back to the grid view. Let's see everyone. I'll just, I know you guys all know your stuff. Mithun, I don't know if you're prepped. Like maybe we can unmute Mithun. Hi buddy, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Very excited. I don't know if you had a chance to prep a log line for this
I did.
Zoya film, Gully Boy, which we all love. So Mithun, just give it to us, man. Tell me, if Gully Boy was your film, how would you pitch it to me in a one line?
I've written it down, so I'm just going to read it.
Go for it, man.
When a young amateur rapper from a large slum is forced out of home by his abusive father, he must overcome his own insecurities and find his voice in order to stand up to his father and ultimately become a rap star.
That is brilliant. Mithun, you killed it. I have no notes for you. That is fantastic.
Thank you.
I have goosebumps. I'm so happy. That is the kind of logline you want to hear. Kya angle hai? What Mithun did is he stared at Gully Boy and he figured out what are the unique selling points. What are the USPs of this film? It's about rap. Did he talk about rap? Yes. Did he talk about the complicated father-son relationship? Yes. Did he talk about the class barrier? Yes. Did he talk about specific location? Yes. He gave me the world of the film. He gave me the protagonist. In a minute, I understood. So I will say there are two types of log lines. एक होता है email वाला, जो मिथुन ने बताया, this is email वाला. There's a formality to it. It has a when structure, when da 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 da, then da 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 da. If da 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 da, then da 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 da. So, you describe the premise, the conflict, and the possible resolution. More often than not, when it comes to pitching, it will get into a verbal conversation. This is what we call an elevator pitch. That is the equivalent of a log line. I'm in PVR Juhu, third floor mein picture dekhni hai. I enter the lift on the ground floor and I find myself standing next to Zoya. And I'm like, oh my God, she runs Tiger Baby. Like, she may make my film, huh? Now, what do I do? I could either stand in the corner like a sane person and not harass her. Or I could take my shot. I mean, this is a woman that she champions underdogs. She made Gully Boy. She'll get it. I'm Gully Boy. I'm going to take my shot. So I have to know, instantly I have to know what is my way in. Right? So I'm like, hey, so I'm making this like film about this young professional in Bombay. And, she's a career woman that's dealing with a very specific challenge relating to motherhood. I have to get her to go, oh, that sounds intriguing. You know what? Like, oh, why don't you email me? Tell me more about that idea. If I can get that, I'm done. I don't need to now sit with her and give her the entire narration. So I knew my little log line. I knew how to tailor it to my audience. And I turned it into what it's called an elevator pitch. If it lasts more than 30 seconds, it's too long. And you still need a little bit of an opening. Like there's a fine line between passionate and crazy. Like you have to know how to walk that. And often you do cross over to the other side. I've done it. I've been, but like that's when if you can flirt a little, charm a little, it helps. But you just manage that line a little bit. I'm always also envious of people who can do that. Don't beat yourself up if you can't do that. But I feel like having that little one line in your head is important. Even when you go to a party, like you never know who you run into, or you meet a collaborator or a technician. First prick of the virus, you have to infect. Then the person opens themselves up. Then to gaya, wo to tum khatam kar doge usko. Then the person will never be able to stand. They'll be consumed with their idea. But pehle opening chahiye, right? How do you tell, on Tinder, how do you tell a person by looking at their photograph that we are meant to be soulmates? You can't do that, na? You have to start with hey, should we get coffee? So it's like that. Like the log line is just your first one. Log line ke basis pe you cannot sell your film. So don't overburden it. Thematically, protagonist, world, sprinkles. But this log line is the most important. Sometimes when you finish writing all the other things, the log line comes back. So let's go back, Yash. Let's see what else is on the list. Synopsis. So synopsis ke bhi, there are multiple things. You know, people sometimes will say, you'll run into them at a thing. Like I ran into a producer at that MAMI Netflix event or whatever. And I'm like, hey, I have a film I think we should talk about. And the person was like, can you WhatsApp me a thing? What they are saying is, I don't want to waste my time here talking to you. I don't know you well enough. I will waste 40 seconds of my time reading a longish message. Us message mein, I will have enough checks and balances to be able to tell, yahan dal galegi ki nahi. WhatsApp mein dal nahi galegi, then I don't want to invite you to my office and waste my time and your time. So, ye back pocket mein hona chahiye. This is longer than a log line, but not 10 pages. It's almost like in 2 paragraphs, you have to give people what that is. Now, I'm sure because of the way, like, you know, if you guys had to do that for Gully Boy, you'll expand it a little, you'll kind of know. So once I write this now, first time I write it, it's hard. Second time I write it, it gets better. Third time I write it, it gets even better. Once I have a version, I save it in my notes file. So I can cut paste. So धीरे धीरे करके हर idea, हर film के these things start getting developed. Log line हो जाता है, short synopsis हो जाता है. Sometimes actors will ask you for a 2-pager. They basically want to go on that journey as that character. This is the start, this is the middle, this is the big complication, this is the ending. They don't have time to read your full script. They don't want a narration. They want to understand in 2-pager. So a 2-pager is a little bit longer than that WhatsApp message. And then grants, foundations, if they don't want to read your screenplay, they'll ask you for a 10-pager. So these are typically the kinds of synopsis you need to have in your back pocket. This is also part of knowing your stuff. Writing these materials sometimes can help you understand your own film. I bet you anything, when Zoya started working on Gully Boy, she did not have the log line. She may have had a different log line. By the time she finished working on the film, the log line changes because the film teaches you what it wants to be. So, okay, you know your log line, you know your synopsis. Okay, let's go to next. You have your full script, right? Not everybody is able to write, in which case you have to get your writer, you have to get that script written. But I think, especially in your earlier part of your journey, a finished screenplay is kind of a bare minimum that people expect. So it's not just about ki, oh, Samar Narayan has a phenomenal idea. It's also about Samar Narayan has sat down and done the work and demonstrated to me with a reasonable degree of execution that he can deliver this idea. I still have a lot of doubts about whether Samar can direct the film. Can he get the actors? Can he run a crew? Is he a good leader? Does he have good like time management? There's 100 questions I have before I invest in Samar. But at least I know it's not कि ना कल shower में खड़ा था Samar भाई, उसको idea आया आज मेरे office में पहुंच गया. A script tells me he has sat down and done the work, and he's quite confident about what this film is. So I would say a script should be something that writers get paid for, but especially in your earlier part of your journey, you kind of have to finance that process yourself. It's part of the material you need. Okay, let's go to the next, Yash. Pitch docket is a really fun part of the journey. At least I like it. Pitch docket is where you take all these materials you've got, your logline, your synopsis, your script, your attachments, like who would I want to work with, and you turn it into a pretty little book. Because sabko pata hai, ADD is everywhere. Nobody actually wants to read. They want pretty pictures that they can flip through, which you're good at. Pretty pictures are also free. Free things we love. We love free things. This is, so you guys, this is massive and very, very vulnerable for me. I'm showing you guys the pitch doc I made for Love. This is before there was a single frame of the film shot. Nobody was on board. Even I barely knew the idea I was making. Script ho gayi thi. So if you go back one, so what did I want to do? I knew I needed a convertible. I didn't have a photo shoot to tha nahi na mere paas. I can't go and get a convertible. So I looked on the internet. I didn't want a picture that's too clear. I wanted a fun feeling of a road trip. In a way, I've picked an image that kind of is a log line, right? You guys have seen the movie, so it's kind of like a log line. And then niche, if you notice, I've given you the basic details, the genre, the length, who is the target audience, and the fact that it's a film. See, I've pitched it as a romantic dramedy. I've not pitched it as a heavy drama. If I write over there heavy drama that makes you want to cut your veins, nobody wants to make that. Is it romantic? Yeah, I think it's romantic. Is it drama? Yes. Is it a comedy? I don't think so. but I think I can push it into the dramedy zone a little bit to get that little more interest from people. Again, pitch doc dekh ke nobody wants to make the film. Pitch doc will get me the meeting. Meeting mein script se film. So the goal of the pitch doc is to get into the meeting. And the 90 minutes and the world cinema is very important so that I can also weed out buyers. I'm not looking to go into T-series and sell them a hardcore Bollywood masala film. When I do my know your audience, I know they're not right for me. ऊपर ही मैं लिख देता हूं so that सामने वाले को भी पता है what to expect. Right? Okay, next. So here's an example of a synopsis. Right? I've given a 2-page, very chota. See, the page kitna bada hai. Look how huge the page is. But I don't want to look desperate. I've not thopoed information. I've just given you a little glimmer. This picture's from one of our location recce's where we were going to shoot the film. And then if you notice niche, I've given references. Because I've not made Dil Chahta Hai or Before Sunrise or Once or Itu Mama Tambian. So I'm going to stand on the shoulder of giants. The people I want to make films with, the kind of film I want to make, they are people who will be fans of these films. So when they read this, they'll be like, oh, I liked Once. I like Dil Chahta Hai. I would like to make this film. But I'm not, there's a huge difference between so these are all ways to get people into your embrace. It also tells people instantly, acha, ye feel hoega, ye hoega. If you notice, the word gay is not mentioned anywhere. There was a question someone had, right? I'm just trying to, there was a question someone had a question about lying. What is like, how do you know whether you're lying or you're not lying? Right? And that for me was like, okay, that is where you sort of have to look at that. Hold on, guys, 1 sec. I know it's here in my notes somewhere, but Akshay had a question. Do you keep altering your pitch based on who you were pitching to? Did you have to lie to get to people? So this is that answer. You do have to modulate. You do have to adjust. But you guys do that all the time in real life. When mom says, "Kal raat ko tu kahan tha?" There's an element of modulation, right? It's about knowing your audience. Maybe if I tell dad X, he'll buy it. If I tell mom X, she won't. So, okay, let's go to the next one. So this is where I talked about my bio. Again, if I'm the biggest reason, I don't have any big actors attached. If I'm the reason people are going to want to make it, I have to play to my strengths. I have to know myself. What are the things people get with me? Oh, American education, this kind of like, sorry, 1 sec, guys. I'm just adjusting my angle to get a little more light in. नहीं तो बाद में डांट पड़ेगी. Kalpana will send me a message in minutes. I know that.
नहीं, मुझे तो already पड़ रही है because she's asking. She said और कोई light है? मैंने कहा नहीं, यही है. हाँ, तो
Smriti, I have done my work. I've created second source of natural light. Okay, done. Chalo, sorry, I'm just adjusting this now. So yeah, so I'm saying look at the bio. Like I'm playing to my strengths, right? So if I don't have some massive projects, I've made my short, which went here, there, everywhere. I've talked about my shows, the kind of press I've gotten. So you'll have to figure out how do you market yourself. Write a bio that speaks to your strengths. While you're selling your idea, continue to build that bio. AD for the right people, work on the right films, try and win some contests. Whatever it is you can do to tell your story about why, you should. Sometimes the bio is also the place where you can show the other person why you are in fact the best person to tell the story. For example, if the story is about a shoemaker, in the bio, you are like, I'm the son of a shoemaker, or I've worked in a shoe shop my whole life. That is a good use of the bio as well. Okay, let's go to the next one. So this is again for me textural. Sometimes I'll include excerpts from the script and put it on location photos. So people really start to understand like, oh, they start getting caught up into the dream of the film. I don't know if the scene will be in the film. The scene wasn't even in the film. We cut it. Let's go to the next slide. Maybe we shouldn't read. So then we talk about the production. Again, like if you notice here, I talked about my collaborators. Who are the people who are going to edit it? Who are going to sound design it? Who are going to be shooting it? So others start to, when I'm giving it to you guys, now you're going through it. Don't you get the sense कि ये film तो बनने वाली है? It's about, do I get involved or not? Nowhere in the film have I said, nowhere in the meeting have I said, सर मैं आपके चरणों में हूँ, अब आप ही का हाथ है मेरे सर पे, आप मुझे बचा लीजिए, आपके बिना नैया डूब जाएगी.
It's like, Arey, I've written a kick-ass script. I know that. I'm making this. These are the people I've gotten on board. If you can do better, do better. If there are other people you want to bring on board, great. The film is getting made. You have to decide if you'll be a part of it or not. Okay, let's go. Next. And again, we talk about little salient details. So you've put your little timeline, so all of this gives you a real sense of like, ye banne wali hai. I've done what have you actually done? Paisa lene to tu mere se aa gaya. What have you done? जो भी free में हो सकता है without paying, I've done. सामने वाले को भी लगता है ना कि like, oh, okay, you respect my money or you respect my involvement. Even when actors, they're like, oh shit, okay, oh good, oh wow, okay, all this is done. It's not just a person who rolled out of bed and called me. Because especially in your early part of your career, they're like, oh, you're looking to take advantage of the 12 years, 15 years I've put in to build this career by simply piggybacking. What do you bring to the table? Okay, let's go to next. This was my amazing partners who said yes to me. Another phenomenal Bombay company, Bombay Berlin Film Productions. They're doing so much amazing stuff. They were the first people, they said yes to me. Arfi and Katerina, if you can ever get your projects to them, do. So, you talk about, okay, who else is making this? Okay, let's go. Next, Yash. And, IDs, whatever. Okay, let's end this. So that's an example of a pitch docket, right? So every time you're developing a part of your know your materials, all of this ye bante ja raha hai. And aren't you feeling good? You feel like you've gone from that little idea you had, ab logline ho gaya hai, doston pe test kar liya hai, you've written your script, you've looking for collaborators, you've convinced some people, you've tried to do location scouting or develop reference photographs. Now you've started building your team. Budgets are like ho rahe hain, schedules are getting in place. You are really, even you yourself will feel like forward momentum, which is so much better than sitting at home and feeling sorry for yourself. So pitching once again has saved the day. I feel like pitching is awesome. We should just love this process. It's the best. Which is also me pitching to you about pitching. Okay, let's go to the next one. So pitch docket and significant attachments can be part of your pitch docket. So sometimes your access to a particular actor, your access to a particular DP or an editor that becomes the reason. Those attachments give you credibility. I don't know you, but I know X, and if X is willing to work with you, then you must be worth my time. So don't only look at it from a single perspective, I need money. Come at it from all directions. Remember, you have to infect the person, right? So like, let's increase the number of people, and eventually wo kahan bhagega? Because you've surrounded them. Okay, let's go next. Sorry, Yash, if you can hear me. And if you can't, then that's okay too.
It should be, yeah.
So this is the log line that Netflix wrote for Love. And this is why Netflix is Netflix. This is better than any log line I ever wrote for Love. The film, they didn't clear this with me. They didn't send it to me for pre-approval. The film launched on Netflix. I went up there and I saw this and I was like, damn it. Why didn't I think of this? So they're really good. They know their stuff. They know how to get people. Fantastic. Another reason why I could never write this log line is because I never wanted to attract the attention of any conservative, right-wing protest, this, that. So I used to always tell people it's a story about friends figuring out the boundaries between love and friendship. No using the word gay. Half my crew didn't even know. So if you go to my version, look at that. A weekend trip between friends takes a sudden turn, making them each question what love is and what it means to them. You time frame, friend love, some sort of a thrilling kuch inside, sudden turn, what does that mean? Little intrigue, acha kya hai? So I again stayed honest. I pulled out real log lines I used when I was pitching the film. Me in 2020, maybe I would workshop it more. I would have more specificity. Right? Can we go back to the grid? I just want to make sure I get his name right. I probably would get Mithun to write my logline. He did a kick-ass job. So be like, Mithun, it's not, sometimes also you can't write your own logline because you are too close to the project. So it helps to have a friend like Mithun to go, look, I've written it, but I don't know how to, I don't know, kya hai, what is it? And someone outside person will have total clarity. They're like, what are you talking about? That's not what your film is about. Your film's about this. And you're like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Theek hai, done. Chalo, let's go back to the thing. Okay, what's next? So this is Knock Knock, which I think you guys also saw, and it's still playing on Mubi in the library if someone hasn't. But this was a very, very tricky film to write a logline for. Everything felt like a giveaway. I don't know what I wanted to talk about. Like, is it important to mention Nepali, Bengali? Is it important to mention thriller, death, mental health, ageism? So ultimately, this is kind of what I meant with. Okay. So then now let's just talk about some practical stuff. I feel like, and I see this all the time, right? When you don't know your material inside out, when you haven't researched who the buyer is or the person you're selling to, when you don't know what the mutual benefit is, when you don't have your materials in deck, all of that results in a lack in confidence. And that lack of confidence displays itself in the things that are not about what you're saying. It's all the body mannerisms. So half the time now, it's so funny. Like what I'm buying and what I'm selling is comfort, excitement, passion, energy, enthusiasm. Those things come through in your body language more than anything. So this has a body language, right? Like, yeah, tell me. No, yeah. And then this also had the body. So, you know what I have a film. I know my mutual benefit. I'm not trying to swallow you. I want to be excited. I want to be interested. I want to lean forward. I want to speak with clarity. A big mistake I find people make is they speak too fast. That also, I think, is a function of insecurity. Take your pauses. You are worth listening to. What you have to say is worth it. And by the way, not everyone will agree. And if they don't agree, they'll never buy. So why waste time? Again, like dating, not everyone is your soulmate. That's okay. Someone had a question about, is it true you hear this thing that only one person needs to say yes? I mean, yeah, one person of every type. One cinematographer, one editor, one choreographer, one financier or multiple financiers, one distributor, one festival, one programmer. But lots of people say no, lots and lots of people say no. I mean, guys, every filmmaker you can think of, so many filmmakers I admire, every filmmaker I meet, I love hearing their stories of rejection. You know, I don't know if Amit Masurkar will mind me saying so, but before Newton became the Oscar submission to India and one of the highest grossing independent films, blah, 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 you should try and find out how many film festivals it was rejected from. In hindsight, it's insane to be like, what? How is Newton rejected from film festivals? What are people smoking? But people are smoking.
So was Court.
So was Court. I mean, if Court is rejected, and now everyone is like, Chaitanya is the second coming of Jesus, you know, like, पहले Jesus आए, फिर चैतन्य जी आए, फिर उसके बाद बाकियों का जन्म हुआ अयोध्या में. But it's part of the deal, man. You know who you are, others don't. You have to find a way to reveal yourself to them in optimal condition. If you didn't do the research, your fault. If you didn't do their research, your fault. If you didn't figure out mutual benefit, your fault. Body language, clothing, like make sure you're smartly dressed, like turned out, appropriate. You know, manners, like waiting, letting the person invite you to begin. Making sure, how was your day, like checking in. Even during your pitch, make sure you check in. Like, even if you notice today while we've been talking, I haven't just been like, I have boarded the train from Delhi to Bombay, ab main Bombay mein hi rukunga bhai. I've been checking in, right? Like, are you with me? I've been summarizing, I've been adding up, I've been tallying, all these things to do, make sure the goal is not to get to Bombay, the goal is to get to Bombay together. Even if the person doesn't end up saying yes, I would love to end the meeting with the other person saying, हाँ ये पागल नहीं है. Let us put a very low bar. Pagal se better, the person might say that my God, yeah, like he's a kick-ass guy. I don't know about this one, but like shit, I should keep in touch. I'll keep checking in every 6 months. Bhai, tu kya kar raha hai? What are you up to? Is there something else? And then there is the person, like ironically, you know you've infected the person when they start asking you questions which seem to be attacking your idea. That's when I know the hook is in. Now the person's getting scared. Oh crap, I like it, I want to do it. Now they're looking to find reasons to say no. They'll be like, it'll cost 100 million. Like, I'm no, it's $5. They're like, what? I'm like, It will need huge crowds, right? Like, no, it's a single person in a room. Oh. So they start like, that's when you know the hook is in. But you have to get them. To me, the worst pitch is when people say, that sounded great. Let me get back to you. My personal, because to me, when we fire people, we are really kind. But when we love people and we want to work with them and hold on to them, then we really bajao, we fire them. Because we want them to improve now. Usi ke sang rehna hai. You don't fight with your girlfriend when you're breaking up. Then you're like, you are the best. This was the best 2 years of my life. Now we have found a path in the road where we need to grow in our own directions. So, those are some but body language is key. How you dress, confidence level, knowing your stuff, pausing, speaking at the right pace, waiting to be asked, checking in with people. Are you with me? Is there something you don't get? Like, do you want me to repeat something? Like, it shows it's like they've come to a party, you're running the party. And part of this also is narrations. I know there was a question about a narration. How do you know it's going well? How do you know? I'll give you a tip I got from who has a person I really admire, who has now become a dear friend, this writer, Niranjan Iyengar. You've seen his films, you've heard his songs. He's such a phenomenal killer man. And I was talking to him because I had a bad narration the other day. And he's like, Sudhanshu, first 2 scenes, that's where it's at. If the first 2 scenes go well, that narration will be great. And agar first 2 scenes mein tum thukra gaye, then wo gayi bhains pani mein, you can't recover. And it's true. So now I really pay attention to the first 2 scenes. The first 2 scenes mein tempo pakda jata hai. The first 2 scenes mein the pace of the narration, the clarity, the confidence. If you are not confident about your script, what will you do? You will rush. Because you want to get to the end and end the torture that is this script. But if you love your script, if you believe in your script, you'll be like, this is great. I don't want it to end. Samne wala is going to enjoy it. I should give them the enjoyment. Imagine, imagine watching Gully Boy at double speed. Won't you get irritated? You'll be like, Arey, but I'm enjoying it. Why are you rushing? Calm down. Moin ko jaane do. Ranveer ko background mein out of focus chalne do. Take your time to find the car. I want to enjoy the music. I want to get into it. वो club के बाहर गाड़ी में बैठा है under the starlights. And immediately उसने rap फोड़ दिया. Immediately लड़की को लेके भागा. You're like, what are you doing? Calm down. फिल्म की गलती नहीं है. You are insecure, तो तुम भाग रहे हो. Right? So I feel that also you have to just modulate a little. Okay, let's come back to that do's and don'ts wala slide. Let's make sure we've checked it off. Is there anything on that, Yash, that we haven't talked about? So let's go back one. So sit up straight, eye contact. I think eye contact's really key. I think for some people it's difficult, especially if you're an introvert and you're feeling awkward. The trick is to practice. Just practice until you can get it out of your system. It's very important to make the other person feel like they matter. You're not talking into the diwal. Hand gestures, smile, enthusiastic, slouch, down, So part of also is you understanding yourself, where your strengths and weaknesses are. Not everyone can do all of this. So some things you'll be good at, some things you'll be weak at. Just emphasize the strengths. But the main point of this is that ye matter karta hai. This is not a natural something. You have to work at it. You have to get good at it. Okay, let's go. Next. This is that Bombay wala thing, what I told you. It's not about getting to Bombay. It's about getting to Bombay together. Like, don't beat yourself up. Enjoy the process. The journey matters. It's not just important to make the film. Film banana hai. Parents have gone mad. Family has gone mad. Relationships have gone mad. Finances ka dahi ho gaya. Everyone has lost it. People are worried you might kill yourself. The journey matters. You really need to enjoy it because you will get there. You will. it's important to like, so this is a, thank you. This was a complete Smriti contribution. I don't know which genius has, but this is
birthday today. Come on.
No, wait. So why is this important to me? Because it's the double side of what Eva said. We don't want the desperation, but we also have to really want it. So it's a very tricky flip. You do have to want it. If you don't, like sometimes now when I find myself not being able to pitch passionately, the problem is I don't believe in it, or something's wrong with the idea, or the idea hasn't taken hold, or I'm not really that passionate about it. मैं बस करने के लिए कर रहा हूँ. हाँ, डिपार्टेड का हिंदी वर्जन होना चाहिए. हाँ, होना तो चाहिए. पिच करेगा, हाँ कर लो यार. But it's not doing that thing to me where I can't sleep. Like, you know, Smriti mentioned I'm writing on shows right now. My problem is whatever 5 hours of sleep I get, I'm breaking storylines all night. With not healthy and not recommended, but also not voluntary. So you have to want it. That is a good way to test how badly you love this idea. Has the idea infected you? How can you infect others until it infects you? मेरे को तो definitely लगता है the films I've made, they don't come from me. They come from the universe, they get into me, and then I make them. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. Why these films? Okay, Yash, let's next.
I think we are done. Are we?
Oh, we should just talk about this very fatafat. Like sometimes people think pitching is about getting the film made. But in reality, that process continues even after the film is made. You have to pitch to distributors, buyers, to audiences, to film festival programmers. All of us will find ourselves outside the inbox of Smriti Kiran. India mein to possible nahi hai. You cannot go through it only. To get your film selected into India Gold for an Indian filmmaker is a matter of high honor. I spent 1 year making my film travel everywhere around the planet before it screened a single place in India. It got its Indian launch at India Gold. Part of that was me not being desperate, not emailing Smriti, not calling her, not harassing her, not even once. I did my work. I went to South by, I went to Cannes, I went to Berlin, I went to BFI, I went to this, I went to that. So the programmer started hearing about it. अच्छा ये हो रहा है, अच्छा इसने लिखा है, उसने लिखा है. ये कौन तोप है? लेके आओ इसको. You're bigger than MAMI or what? No. We are desperate waiting to get the phone call. And it was, I have to say, one of the most memorable and exciting parts of my love journey was I had some 30 family members who had descended to Bombay to see the film because I refused to show anybody the film without I'm like, you will see it with the paying public. Line mein lago, film dekho. So MAMI was the first opportunity people had in India to see it. And the film opened sales. I was at Cinemax, which is now PVR Versova, with the badges, because they'll buy the badge, but line mein nahi khade honge. They are. So I'm in line. I get my dad's ticket. The next ticket I go for sold out. I have 15 more tickets to get. My own film is sold out. But instead of being sad, I'm so excited. I'm both angry and excited. So that is also pitching. To get to the audience to select your film, you've made your trailers. Journalists require pitching, yeah? They have 50 films they can write about. Why will an Amrita Joshi give a shit? Why should she write about your film? That email you send them with the right name dropping, the right festivals, the right log line, you can't get away from it. It is a omnipresent part of our job. So it's best to dig in and get damn good at it. Develop karo, keep it on the side, reuse the material over and over. Yeah? So Smriti, I think maybe. And we had some TV materials like in terms of pitching, slightly different. You know, you still need your log line. You need much, much deeper sense of character. You need your season arc, which is like your script. Your pilot ka script people will want. So TV has slightly different materials. And you know what? I'll share with Smriti some of these TV pitch materials for the bigger shows you guys will know about. Maybe like Fargo or something, Smriti, I'll get you those. So we can make it available to these guys if they want to read and all that.
So Danjo, I think we need to do another session with you. I think that's what we need to do. I think this has been nothing short of a stroke of genius. You've just been fabulous. This is so helpful. The material, the direction, you know, before I open the house out for questions, and you've taken quite a few of those, I also want to ask you that, some of the things, very practical things that hobble people are also when you get to take your shot, when there are 20 people who are going to listen to you, maybe not groveling, but kind of finding your way. You're never doing the pitching, like you're lucky if you do the pitching in a room, right? You get this shot in a room and it's private and there are 5 people. But sometimes you're doing the pitching in an elevator, which is very typical, the elevator pitch, or you're doing it because, there are 20 people in, like Sudhanshu said, that Zoya is standing there with 5 of her friends. And there is possibly, a possibility, and it could be Zoya, it could be anybody, that they're going to tell you to buzz off, right? So how do you prepare yourself from that buzz off from somebody you really admire? Now, you could be told to buzz off, right? You could suck at what you're doing, though you've prepared so much because you're so scared that these, 20 people are listening to me. And what if I sound grovelly? What are they going to think about me? So, these kind of things, because it's not like you said, Sudhanshu, it's never the pitching is never going to happen where you just kind of do this and there's a mirror in front of you. They're people, they're reacting, they're looking at you, they're judging you, they're reacting to you. And sometimes that is the biggest hobbler, no matter how much work you've done. How do you get over that? I mean, I suffer from deep anxiety.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I find the easiest trick. I'll give you guys my super master easiest trick. I just shine a light on it. Sometimes telling people how nervous you are is the easiest way to get all the tension out of the room. I also believe in know your audience again. So if it's Zoya, I'll talk about, I've read stories about how hard it was for you to make luck by chance. Khatam. Pigal. We're in. She'll remember that. She's like, But also, Smriti, isn't it like being in a bar? Like when you want to get someone's number, you found them cute, like you want to, it's scary. And they have the right to reject you. They don't have to listen. You can put your best foot forward. It's also about the other person's mood. And you are not always in a mood where you can summon the courage to do that. All are okay. You don't have to take every opportunity life gives you. Life isn't also one finite thing. जब होता है, take your best shot. मना करेंगे तो we are ready for it. World has not ended. Just took a shot because you were in the mood and you saw the right person, and why not? There's 10 other ways to do it. Some people are more comfortable on text. Some people are better with email. I get some amazing DMs where I'm like, wow, that was compelling. So to each their own, it's like get to know yourself and then sort of play it to you. But I think people absolutely and always have the right to reject you unfairly. Not even fairly, unfairly. Hak hai unka. It's their time, yeah. It's their energy. I'm okay with that. I think part of wanting things is knowing that you can't always get them. If you're scared of rejection, then don't want anything. Sorted. But you can't be petulant. Ki, ya, mujhe chahiye, like, like, no, sorry. It's okay. There's as much rejection. So, yeah. I hope that speaks to that.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the team to unmute Diganta De, please.
Yeah.
Hi, Diganta, go for it.
Yeah. Thanks, Smriti. So my questions to Sudhanshu is, what is the current situation you have faced in India, especially in terms of world film circuit as well, in terms of pitching? Because I am an independent filmmaker. I faced few things, which is my personal overview, that in terms of Western countries, in India, the pitching options is so much less. And right now I'm working on my first feature documentary. So right now it shows that it's also, is not a best place in India, especially. I'm not finding anyone. So what is your call? I mean, in Indian scenario. Thanks.
So, no, thank you, Diganta. That's a great question. I don't know if it's India. I think it's worldwide. I think the avenues available to filmmakers who want to make a certain kind of film is always going to be very niche and limited. If you ask me to make Knockout again, I can't tell you how I made it. I honestly don't know. It's a freak show. Same with Love. I think it's unlikely. It's like a bolt of lightning. It's just madness. And it sounds good in retrospect, where you can go, I went to X and I went to Y and ban gaya. But in reality, it wasn't like that. When I choose to make something offbeat, when I choose to make something unusual, the burden falls on me to make that happen. So if you're choosing to make a documentary, for example, in a country that is not hungry or desperate for it, where the sales are not there to justify the manufacturing of a bunch of docs, it is going to be hard. But you know that, Diganta, I suspect. You still want to make it. So you will find a way. Maybe I'll start by looking at all the docs that have been made in the Indian ecosystem in the last 10 years. Make a list of every one. Start looking at how did they get financing? What are the organizations that are there in common? Can I go to ITFA? Are there pitch fests? Can I go to hot docs? Who can I write to? Any of those filmmakers looking for assistants, looking for ADs, looking for people on their teams to write their grant application. Is that how I can learn everything about grant writing? How do I start? Like with the good thing with a doc is, nowadays with digital technology, if you have a good phone and a decent sound, you can pretty much start rolling. Can I cut a 5-minute trailer for my doc without getting a single dollar in financing? So I'm going to focus on all the good things. I'm really not going to focus on all the bad things. Do we deserve a HBO that is violently and actively and enthusiastically investing in documentaries? Yes. Do we deserve a Netflix the way they support docs in the US to do it in India? Yes. But what will come out of me sitting and looking at what people don't do? I really don't have the time to fix anything. I just want to make my film. So I just keep very tunnel vision. And somehow I just like, there are days, where you feel down, of course. But for the most part, I feel like I have this like annoying optimism. At least I get told that by my friends a lot, saying, what the hell are you so happy about? So you just try to keep that perspective where I'm like, I want to make it. I can sit and whine about it, cry about it, or I can just crack it. One thing at one step at a time, keep moving forward. Speaking of which, like, I think I'm just remembering that, like, anyways, MAMI, man, they show some phenomenal docs. Like, I remember last year I saw this doc about that Marathi family. It also went to Busan. Smriti, I'm sure you know it, about that family. Anyway, phenomenal doc.
Are you talking about Love?
Yes, About Love. I had 4 bookings that day. I saw About Love first and I canceled the other 3. I just was in the spell of the movie, just fascinated. And later realized that like me and the filmmaker were in the South Korea embassy together, getting our visas done for Busan. Then you have organizations like MAMI that will help you platform it. And at least now, Diganta, compared to 10 years ago, you have so many more buyers. All these OTT platforms that might be looking to pick it up if you're able to make it. So I would say focus on all the pluses instead of lamenting the fact that we don't have as many outlets that you can pitch and get financing from.
Thank you. Can I request Samar Narayan to be unmuted, please?
Hi, Sudhanshu. First of all, thanks for this session. It was a very simple and informative session, and especially with images of Inception and all, it really resonated that I got the idea that you're talking about. I wanted to ask about that. Suppose you have an idea about some film or a series. How do you decide at what stage a pitch would be good? Is it at a log line? Is it at a script? Is it at a pilot that you've shot? So what would be your take on it and some ideas that you might have?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Samar. Thanks for that question. And I feel like because we've done the session together, you are now empowered to answer your own question. I think the answer is know your audience. If the person is someone who buys things or collaborates with people at an idea level, go for it. If it's an outlet like Netflix who gets fully matured pitches all day long, then I would say wait. Like get the idea super formed out and then go for it. So if it's, for example, a cinematographer, obviously it's not going to be after you shot the pilot. If it's a writer, it's going to be at a idea stage, right? In general, my rule of thumb is, I will try and present as mature a version of my idea as I can, in general. But sometimes you got to take the shot because the opportunity is now. If the opportunity presents itself and my idea is in a more early phase, I'll go for it. But if I have to set the meeting, I'll probably wait until I have done everything I can for that idea. There is also such a thing as overdone. you don't want everything to be all defined and locked up. You want there to be an opportunity for people to collaborate. So, yeah. But like, I think depending on who it is, that is the answer. Yeah.
Thank you. Can we unmute Nehal Gupta, please?
Hi, Sudhanshu. Thank you so much for the session. Yeah, so my question has changed from from what I submitted to what I have now, because the session answered my previous question. So now the question I have is, see, I have an idea, as a person, I have an idea and I know it will work, and I've tested it, flirted with it, and have gone through the incubation period. But I know that, talking about it to other people will help me improve my idea. So like, my idea is there, but it's not concrete. And I can't even pitch it to, like, people, because I know there are some flaws and there are some things that need to be filled in it. So how do I convince other people to come and join me, to help me make my idea a little bit more concrete, so that then I can follow all the pitching stuff that we discussed today?
I think even the barest, simplest germ of an idea, every idea will have flaws, right? Let's say if I take Inception, when it was first formed, that idea had flaws, but part of pitching that idea was not focusing on the flaws. It was focusing on the positives. I kind of want to do a film about a guy that goes into people's subconscious and plants ideas. So what's the flaw? Let's say you told me that. I would be like, what do you mean? How will you show the subconscious? Flaw. How are you going to make it tangible? Flaw. But you didn't focus on the flaw. You focus on the good. Your ability to pitch will make me go, oh, you know what would be really cool? Like, the subconscious looked like the real world, and you could tumble into it. And then you went, oh, let's play with gravity. Let's make sure that the rules of physics get altered. So you get a sense of, like, we started brainstorming, right? I don't think your idea, Nehal, will ever reach a phase when it doesn't have flaws. Don't be insecure because your idea has flaws. Look for collaborators that celebrate what's good and help build and brainstorm and proceed from it. If I never pitched until my idea was perfect, I would never pitch at all. The films I've already made have flaws, but I still find a way to pitch it now. If a distributor never pitched a film that had flaws, half of them would just shut down. How many films have you gone and seen at the theater that the distributor pitched to you via a trailer, via a poster? They pitched it because they were like, "Acha, yaar, film is dabba, but how do we pitch it? We have to dress it up." So that's what you have to do. And bit by bit, with every collaboration at every stage, shave away the flaws. Every flaw is a question waiting to be answered. Every loophole is a brainstorming session away from being plugged. Nothing is permanent.
Thank you. I'm asking the last three questions that we have. So can we unmute Rishabh Rastogi, please?
Hi, Sudhanshu.
Hi.
We saw your cover photo, like the cover poster of your movie. And you said that I mentioned this as a romantic dramedy rather than a heavily dramedy. Like, you are making a film about a subject as a gay. Don't you think, like, it's for a financer, he's imagining this film as a romantic, a light-hearted romantic dramedy, but it's a film about a subject like this. And as a financer, he knows that it's not commercially viable. Of making a film like this, it is not commercially viable. As a filmmaker, what do you pitch, like the financer? What he will get out of it if it is not at all commercially viable?
That is a great question. So this is the pitching. Like, let's put Rishabh in the room. Rishabh is my financier. Rishabh has heard me out, and Rishabh is so smart. He has seen through all my crap. He's like, hey, rook. look at the subject you're doing. मेरे को क्या मिलेगा? This is not commercially viable. If Rishabh is honest with me, he'll say that. If he's not honest with me, he'll be like, that was lovely, let me get back to you. If Rishabh is honest, he'll say, kya hai ye, kya hai? I'll be like, Rishabh, I love that you asked me that question. Thank you so much. What is commercially viable? If I invest 10 rupees, I should make back 12 rupees. That is commercially viable. If I invest dabang money in love, love is not commercially viable. But if I can make dabang for the price of one of Salman Khan's costume changes, is it then commercially viable? So I will remind Rishabh that he has not asked me what the budget is. In order for Rishabh to determine if something is commercially viable, first he must know what it costs. So I have taken his question and led it into a subject about economics. I'm also going to assume that because Rishabh is asking the question, he already likes the subject. He's now trying to figure out if he can make money on it. For me, this is progress. Rishabh will be like, okay, good point. How much money do you need? Then I'll tell Rishabh, look, I understand that this film cannot be theatrically released, but I have 7 years of experience in the world sales market. I have a sense of where are the places we can get back from it. If we make it at such a compelling cost that the bare minimum can be recovered in this way and this way and this way, then in reality, your upside is huge. Because you've invested so little money to own a disproportionate percentage of the film, if the film succeeds, the return on your investment will be massive. Now Rishabh is thinking, if I invest in one Salman Khan film, एक तो खर्चा बहुत लगेगा, respect नहीं मिलेगी, return भी कम आएंगे, collect करते करते मैं पागल हो जाऊंगा. यहाँ पे I get to be the top dog. For a very low amount of money, I get to become the top person, and I'll get to get access on the ground learning. ये तो बेशरम है, कुछ भी मैं पूछूंगा बताएगा if I want to learn. So I'm showing Rishabh what are the advantages of investing in my film rather than a bigger conventional short commercial hit. No doubt if Rishabh is a financier, even he would like to invest in a film that has Akshay or Salman. Unfortunately for him, the kinds of films that are guaranteed money spinners are not looking for investors like him. Sometimes you have to also remind people, why are you in this meeting with me? If you had access to Akshay, you wouldn't be sitting with me. If you had the kind of capital to bankroll those films, you would not be sitting here with me. So it's those questions, every time you have one of these meetings, it will force you to come up with answers and attack your proposition from a different place. Because we are not entitled, because we don't think कि हमारा हक है. Every question that is presented to us, we must have an answer for it. We are not going to assume कि सामने वाला stupid है या उसको याद नहीं रहेगा. Anybody that has made enough money to be capable of investing in my film is actually incredibly smart. They must be satisfied with enough answers. Don't stress if you don't know how to answer every one of those questions. You will learn along the way. You will meet other people. Every meeting will teach you. Watch this. If I'm not capable of answering Rishabh, I would tell Rishabh, you know, my specialty is making films. I'm passionate about that. Even I am not able to figure out exactly how to make this viable. Can you help me? Even if you're not going to invest in my film, I would love your insight on how do I make this proposition something that is attractive to investors. Rishabh's ego is up. Rishabh's like, good, I don't have to invest. Plus, banda seekhna cha raha hai. Aja bhai, bet. Let me tell you why I can't invest in this. Still good, right?
Thank you. Can I ask Rishabh Sabharwal to be unmuted, please?
Hi, Sudhanshu.
Hi.
Hi, sir. Hi, I'm a huge admirer of your work with Knock 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 and with Love.
Thank you.
And I also saw your fundraising campaign on Indiegogo for His New Hands.
Oh, brother.
So, yeah. So I'm a huge admirer of your films. I myself am basically, your film Love is a part of my study. I'm basically studying Love and Brokeback Mountain for my film that I'm writing. I'm referencing these two films. So the question that I had was regarding fundraising, that how does a fundraising campaign help a film? And if a fundraising has nothing to do with, let's just say, a social cause or a cause that is going to help the world, how to explain people that this film is actually that what we are making is actually going to bring a change into the lives, let's just say, of a queer community that I'm writing a film on. right? How does that film empower that part of the community, and how can people benefit the film through fundraising? How to pitch the film with a fundraising campaign to the audience?
So I feel like that's kind of what our session really has been about. You know, you want to make one idea, done. Now you have to figure out, why do you want to make that idea? More often than not, the answer is in there. Why you want to make the film is the reason why other people should want to support you. Not every film is about it's going to change the world. That also isn't an obligation that a film should have. I think Amol Palekar's Golmaal changed the world. Andaz Apna Apna changed my world. How many times have I been down in the dumps when I've turned to that movie to just pick me up? How do you pitch Andaz Apna Apna for a fundraising campaign? I'm going to make an insane movie which barely will make any sense. Please help me. Part of pitching is understanding your project, right? So it's like, for example, if I had to pitch Andaz, I'll be like, the world has become too serious. Everybody is going after the dark side. Hero ka anti-hero, anti ka anti-hero. Batman has become super Batman. Batman has become even darker Batman. Now Batman is darker than very Joker also. I want to go in the opposite direction, and I want to make you laugh. I just want you to have a good time. I want to make a nonsense madcap caper that is not going to save anyone. That's your USP. Now I'm leaning in. I'm like, huh? Oh, what is he trying to make? I'll be like, I want to have a blast. These are the technicians I'm partnered with. Name drop, name drop, name drop. This is where I'm going to shoot my film. Oh, intriguing. This is how I want to make it. This is the budget level. Here are the benefits I'm selling. I think writing an Indiegogo campaign or a crowdfunding campaign requires the same pitch materials. It forces you to understand what film you're making. It forces you to understand your own work. It forces you to understand the audience, who is going to watch it, all of which help you as a filmmaker. And ultimately, the biggest benefit that comes from a crowdfunding campaign is you're building an audience before the film is even released. People who are your champions, who are following along, who get to participate in its success. There are a lot of people out there who are creative but don't have an outlet. They don't have the time or the ability or the circumstance to be able to do it. They have the money though. So if they can, for a little bit of money, feel like they have rubbed a creative itch, scratched a creative itch, yeah, that they'll go for it. But I think, again, like anything else, they need to see you are already charging ahead. You are already trained, but gaadi station se nikal chuki hai. Now it's about, let me participate. Even when I did those crowdfunding campaigns, I found everyone was vocal and they were supportive. They were sharing and liking and this, that. But until I reached 60% of my goal, they didn't want to pitch. Last mein to everyone was like, dhar dhar paisa dal rahe. Initially, they were like, everyone is skeptical, like, no one wants to be the first one. So when you launch a campaign, I always tell people, you should know where first 30, 40% of your money is coming from. They should be lined up. And you have to almost tell them, on Tuesday, you'll donate, on Wednesday, you'll donate, on Thursday, you'll donate. So I can show momentum. That is another session only.
We'll definitely do another one, 3 or 4 with you, Sudhanshu. I think we need to. I also, before I take the last 2 questions, I also want to say, like, kudos to Kunal Chopra, who's on the session with us. He's, guys, right now traveling from Delhi to Bombay. He's in a train attending this session. So Kunal.
Oh my God, that's what that is. I thought it was some cool decor or like some fun, like couch. God, like.
डब्बा लग रहा है और कुणाल का फ्रेम इतना हिल रहा है कि what can be done about it, and then I realize he's on a train listening to this. So
wow.
I don't know about pitching, but you've definitely got my attention. And so the next person who should be unmuted is Samgata Banerjee.
Hi. Thanks, Smriti.
Hi. Go for it.
Thank you so much for doing this. This is really great. My question is, we often struggle with some of the entry points that we have, in a way, we have access to the financiers. So elevator is something which is purely based on luck, right? So some of the entry points, if you could suggest, which we could go to other than Instagram and social media.
So those are, I think, the world we live in, those are huge. I feel like you have to have that card in your pocket or in your email. And sometimes you'll attend like a networking event. Sometimes you'll attend like a seminar. You'll attend like a speech, or you'll find them outside of, random elevator, literal elevator. Sometimes you'll be able to get access to them through, there's 100 ways to get to a person, right? Like, for example, if I know a particular company, like if I was developing a horror comedy and I know Maddock has done one, then I kind of know they are my ideal company. So how do I get to Maddock? I can go to their general website and start spamming it. I can look up who are the executives working at Maddock. I can look at how do they take meetings? What are the things they're attending? Are they at FICCI? Are they at Film Bazaar? Is MAMI doing an event with them? I would reach out to filmmakers I know, friends I know, 6 degrees of separation. Like, knowing who I want to infect is extremely important, so I can now start finding a way into their inbox. Who can connect me? Who can pass it on? It takes work, but it can get there. So I think this is where that Shah Rukh Khan slide comes in handy. That Kainat wala thing. First, you have to know who you want to infect. Half the time, people don't even know that. Then you can take a targeted approach. It's actually really funny. The minute you verbalize it now, the universe starts to bend itself to make it happen. Or your point of view becomes so tunnel vision that all you start to see are dots that connect and lead up to the person. Just give it a try. It will happen.
Sudhanshu, I want to ask you a question that we've got lots of praise for the session on YouTube. Lots of people are watching. Arfi also came in. Sucharita Tyagi came in. There is a gentleman called Kunal Kushwa who wants to know, and I say this verbatim, he said, studios, directors always say they welcome all kinds of stories, but certain genres are always sidelined by them even without reading.
Correct.
So is that welcome false or is that grey?
You guys have seen my films. Please tell me what studio would be stupid enough, lunatic enough. I feel like I specialize in making films that no one wants to make. It's kind of like but I don't think of myself that way. I feel I'm a very pliable commercial guy. I want to make blockbusters. And then I look at my scripts and I'm like, what are you smoking? What is this? And then at the same time, because the idea has taken a hold of me, I can't help it. So again, I think I don't know, somehow I don't get angry. Because Smriti, I've been on the other side. I understand how those meetings work. I understand there are mandates, there's profitability mandates, there's huge amounts of monies at play, there are jobs at stake. Most of these people just want to get home and spend some time with their kids. They're trying to get through their day. I don't know. It's like few and far in between, you'll run into an executive or a producer or a studio head that is literally looking to change the world. So if you are choosing to take on extremely challenging subjects, then you'll have to work outside that framework. You can't complain about that. On the other hand, let's please give people examples like James Cameron. None of his films are about nothing. All of his films deal with social causes. All of them have general themes like Spielberg. These are all people who have taken up that responsibility of delivering truckloads of profit while talking about meaningful cinema. I mean, look at Munich. You can put it up next to anything. Look at Schindler's List. Look at even Titanic. Look at anything, yeah. So if you can't find a way to say what you want to say within the context of financiable, saleable, profitable cinema, that kind of is your choice. And I'm saying that to someone who makes that choice because I'm going for purity. It's an aesthetic preference. It doesn't make me better. Sometimes people come at it with some condescending, tum kya samjhoge? Like, no, you can't do what Cameron does. Let's be clear. So, it's like you can't, I'm not going to go to some fancy white tablecloth fine dining restaurant in BKC and be like, ye kya bhao hai? Also when you go to the vada pav wala outside the station, know your audience. I don't commend it. And the person is completely right. There are genres, there are subjects, there are things they won't even read. There are people, Smriti, who, if they do their research, will not even meet me. I get lucky because sometimes they don't do the research.
Most of the time.
So if they actually, because I'll find myself in meetings where I'm like, what's going on here? Like, have you seen my work? Like, you know what I do? Because, like, that's okay. I know the minute one of these things will hit and make, like Amit's career will be different after Newton makes 20 crores opening weekend. And I defy you to find me a single human being on that team who thought that would happen. Because it's like, but when Amit was sitting in that Starbucks and pounding away at his script and running after Rajkumar and trying to make that film happen. By the way, I didn't know Love would get where it's gotten. I didn't know any of you guys would be seeing Love. Believe me, I would have made it differently. I swear to you, I would have so many shots. I would have there were equipments I used to send back. Like Arfi, who logged on to the session, he would be like, "Le lo." I'm like, "Nahi le sakte. Jab recovery nahi hai, to kharcha kaise karu?" I was the one cutting scene after scene, shot after shot, because I was be like, "Ab paise barbad karne hi hai, to let's set a manageable amount of money on fire." If I knew it would get this massive deal from Netflix and would be so profitable and be making all this thing and become like the first film to play South by, I would have definitely done things differently. Sometimes it is hindsight 2020. So जब आप बना रहे हैं, तब you as a producer, the best thing I did is I applied that realistic financial sense to the project. I structured it accordingly. So that when I was going into meetings with people like Rishabh, for example, who was quite tough on me, I was able to bring him around. I was able to show him that I respect your money, bro. I've not just come here saying like, I've done the math. Here's how you might get your money back. These are the avenues. That's why a guy like Rishabh goes, okay, he's doing something nuts, but that's also why I have access to him. Let's roll the dice. जाएगा तो कम जाएगा, आएगा तो ज़्यादा आएगा.
You know what is amazing about everything that you've said, Sudhanshu, today is that, the world is not entitled, you're not entitled to anything. You've got to make this happen for yourself, and you've got to tap into your own resources. You've got to keep the faith, but you've got to do the work. You can't escape the work. You might get lucky, but those chances, I mean, if you want to play on luck, then one doesn't know, but the hard work, and you literally have to go into this knowing that, nobody owes you anything. We can run this session for 2 more hours, but I know how tough it has been for Sudhanshu. I know everyone prepared a log line. We've not gotten to too many. We got only to Mithun. And not only for his own project. Sudhanshu, do you want to listen to 1 or 2 log lines?
I would love to at least get, but Smriti, the main reason I want to contextualize in case people are feeling burnt, it was important for me to get you guys to prep your log line for Gully Boy and your project, because that is the only way to participate in the session. Going through that exercise puts you in that mindset. So now when I'm talking, you're already in that pitching zone. That's why it wasn't because I was like, let's all be doing a pitch session. The goal was to get you into that headspace where you're rolling up your sleeves and getting practical about it.
Absolutely.
Right? But I was going to tell Smriti, I think it should be a lot of fun. I think we should let's hear a couple of log lines, and if I can give you guys any speedy feedback, unlike, I mean, if everyone's as good as Mithun, there's nothing honestly for me to do. But, let's have some fun. If I can share any feedback, I will. And, it's practice makes perfect. You have to keep pitching and then ideas will come. I don't know.
Pick 3 people.
I would love to hear from Shweta. And Shweta, please tell me you didn't prepare the log line. That'll be really fun.
I actually didn't write the log line. I am so sorry. I am actually trying to balance the session between my office work. So I'm really sorry about that. Even I joined late and I got scolded by the organizers.
It's okay.
But I had a question. If you permit me to ask that, if Smriti permits me.
What?
I have a question. Can I ask that?
Yeah, of course, go for it. Ask a question. Yeah.
So as a writer, I do write. The problem is, even if I register my script at SWA and I keep, sharing it with people who are writers, fellow writers, or keep discussing it with so many people. So how to ensure that it doesn't get copied, or someone doesn't.
Absolutely. No, I know what you mean. And Shweta,
it's very scary. Yeah.
I also just saw your question in the. So I'm going to give you a very controversial answer. And please understand, this is only my opinion, not everyone's opinion. And there are very senior writers I can connect you to who will disagree with me completely. My opinion is, number one, you are not expensive enough for me to steal from. It's a very controversial opinion, because people who want to steal, it doesn't matter, man, they'll steal. But honestly, it'll be easier to buy from you, probably get it pretty cheaply. Why would I steal? Why would I open myself up to all that? That's one. Second, it's not productive for me to obsess about getting stolen from. I don't think of myself as a one-trick pony. I feel like I have 200 ideas by the time you're done stealing from me. For example, XYZ steals from me. I'm like, oh my God, thank God, fantastic. I can call up XYZ saying, hey, you love the idea, I love that. Can I get a job? Can I pitch you 5 more ideas? Now XYZ is like, oh shit, bekar mein chori kiya, ye to itni achhi hai. Look, I'm not making light of how heartbreaking it is when you get stolen from. I'm not making light of that. I can't imagine anything worse. Intellectual property theft is awful. It hurts like hell. But I also understand that I'm looking at the long game, man. I'm looking at if I keep worrying and obsessing about who's going to steal my idea every time I talk, I'll be paralyzed in fear. So I take the opposite approach. I spread, I disseminate, I infect. I'm like, tere ko pasand hai na, le. I've got 10 more. I make it very open that I'm available to work. I'm happy to collaborate. I take notes. If you like my idea so much, don't you want me to continue developing it for you? Kya problem hai? Is it about money? Say. If it's about credit, say. I'm not saying you should just roll around, lie down like a doormat and let people walk all over you. But I am talking about it's the lesser of two evils. How do I conduct my career if I'm constantly worried about getting stolen from? It's a real problem. I'll post it here, I'll post it there, I'll talk about it openly. I don't even bother with NDAs half the time. The fact is, I'm sorry to say this, even after you take off every precaution, you could still get stolen from. It's a sad truth. So I focus on becoming a talented, kick-ass, fun collaborator that people want to be around. I find that a little more productive. And do I see a message saying Kunal's got a logline ready, plus he's in a train? I feel like we should give him the train ka bonus, na?
We should, definitely.
Frozen?
Guys, can we unmute Kunal unless until we've lost him and there's this frozen image?
And then, Smriti, we can go to someone else if Kunal is frozen.
Let's go to Rishabh Sabharwal, who's also got his logline ready. And then there are 2 more people. Diganta's got it ready. There are a couple of more people. Let's go to a few people.
We're in the elevator. Jump into it.
Go for it, Rishabh.
All right. So basically, the story is about in a post-independence India, rural Punjab, which is now divided into 2 nations, a river and fate brings 2 boys together to become best friends for life, only to discover love in unusual circumstances in a masculine Sikh community.
Nice. A lot of detail there. If I had to edit it, I would edit out the first part.
Okay.
So, for example, even when you say the story is about, but why am I wasting my jhag on story is about? Why am I talking about post-independence India when I'm like, I know the minute you say post-partition, 2 shabdon mein ho gaya na. Unless you're pitching to like a financier or someone in Germany, they may not understand the politics of the subcontinent. Then think about posturing. Like, is it a political story or is it an intimate story? Can we unmute Rishabh? Rishabh, use sign language.
Rishabh, please, can we keep him unmuted for a little while?
Rishabh, so political or intimate?
It's an intimate story.
So then twist marna yaar. Don't start with the partition and the politics. Start with 2 people living across the river fall in love, only to realize They come from, so I get my little kahani mein twist. Interesting. Kuch hai. And then maybe if I want to lead with the gay part, I'll be like two men fall in love. But if I want to keep the gay part as a second twist, I can layer it that way. So it's all about designing that little experience, even in that 30 seconds. Hook ho gaya na? I would love to meet and talk to you about it. Kaam khatam. If the hook has landed, the person will meet.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Pretty good.
There was this one thing that you said about since when you were writing the logline for Love. So in the pitch doc, that the logline you wrote didn't exactly talk about the gay part of the story.
I think that's done, Rishabh. That was 2015. In 2020, I would lead with it.
All right.
Hathi pe I would lead with it because dunya badal gayi hai. People are looking for different. The most boring story you can pitch now is ek ladka ek ladki milte hain.
All right.
कुछ तो करना पड़ेगा. You can't just say now अब like मिलते हैं. Like you'll be like, oh, they are adopting their parents or like all kinds of nuts. So oh, their parents are having a baby. Like you have to do something zany now.
Can we unmute Kunal, who I think is still in a train and will be in a train for a long time?
It could be a set, Smriti.
Yeah, I will be there for around like 10 in the morning. Yeah.
Okay.
So, so this is a 5-minute long short film that I have written, and the logline is: it's a story of a boy who comes back home and realizes the reason of his sufferings, and reaches torpor.
And reaches
torpor.
What is that?
Torpor is actually a state of mental inactivity.
Oh, torpor. Okay, got it. Sorry, I thought it was a location. So I was rifling through cities and countries in my head. Okay, done. So sorry, start again, please.
Story of a boy who comes back home and realizes the reason of his suffering and reaches torpor.
Okay. Not enough. I don't know anything.
Not enough.
I don't know context. I don't know what makes it unique. I don't know what the twist is. I don't even get the genre. I was great. I have to note here, Rishabh, the one good thing that Kunal did is he told me up top, it's a 5-minute short. So maybe in the pitch, I don't like to say it upfront. I like to say it later. I'm like, it's a feature. It's a series. It's a short. So I understand what kind of commitment you're looking for. Is that the genre I'm looking to work in? But Kunal, it will need a lot more detail. You have to find your unique point. Sometimes what happens is, I think Shweta was talking about that. The worry of getting stolen from is so huge. You become so coy about your idea, or you want it to reveal itself on the page, that you keep covering it up. कि ये नहीं बताना चाहता हूँ मैं, ये बाद में बताता हूँ, ये मैं बताता नहीं हूँ, ये मैं बाद में बताता हूँ. What comes out at the other end is just vanilla ice cream. ये तो क्या सबके पास है. Why am I buying vanilla from you? We are not in a place where we can sell vanilla ice cream. We have to sell like, jhal frazee potato rocket. You are like, what the hell is jhal frazee potato rocket? मेरे से पूछिए, मैं बताऊंगा. मीटिंग के लिए बुलाइए. So, if you say I've made very good vanilla ice cream, I'll be like, I've got it.
Really sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Okay, I have to say at least Kunal की एक लाइन के पिच से मुझे एक नया वर्ड सीखने को मिल गया. torpor. I have no idea what that meant. I said ये क्या है?
I think वो stupor का भाई है.
तो मेरी vocabulary तो increase हो गई. And the last pitch that we can logline that we can take is from Rishabh Rastogi.
Okay.
Rishabh, बताओ भाई अपनी logline. Please unmute him.
So it's a pitch for an urban web series.
Okay.
And logline could be, it's a dramedy of a group of people who run a service which provides human connection on hire for psychological gratification. We live in a world where we can hire, like where we can...
No, Rishabh, I got it. It was crisp, it was short, you covered the genre, you gave me the unique twist, you gave me the setting. I would call you for a meeting. That was good.
Sure, like.
Also, the only fault was take that pause. Let me give you the yes. Trust your log line. It landed, na? Then kai ko explain karne ka? That was really good. I love it, actually. Like, maybe if people were like, oh, that sounds really good, tell me more. Then I would maybe talk about the protagonist, because in the series world, that matters the most. Or I would talk about where is it set. You know, it's really set here, or like, oh, the protagonist is. Because already, I think the area of focus and the genre is very interesting. Now I want to understand, usme kya unique take hai. But if I was running from a meeting to another meeting and I heard that, I'd be like, oh my God, okay, you know what? Just send me an email. You've hooked me enough to want to hear more. That's the job of the logline. Yeah,
okay, guys, we are completely out of time, but I'm going to let Diganta, whose name I took, do his logline, and then we are done. Okay? We've kind of like, Sudhanshu, we need to do another session with you, but we are over 2 hours, which is very rare for a session of ours. So Diganta, go for it.
Yeah. So am I audible? Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, Mental Manifesto is an investigative feature documentary to find the actual definition of sane and insane, which includes the socio-political perspective along with the sufferings and consequences in terms of world. Thank you.
Sure. So again, Diganta, pretty good. I would just say, like, what I would tell you is like, can you make it a little more personal? I feel like what the logline you gave is very good for an academic grant. It has a very formal approach, almost a researcher's or an anthropological approach. But if I'm approaching a layman, so I don't know who the logline is for, but if I'm approaching a grant, I would stick with that. If I'm doing a research application, I would stick with that. If I'm approaching a layman on the street, or I'm approaching a distributor, or I'm approaching a financier, then I would find a way to make it more personable. Guys, sorry, another generic thing I wanted to tell you guys, which might help everyone. Anytime you can take a log line and relate it to your own life, it answers the question, ye project to badhiya hai, but why should Diganta make it? It answers the question, why should Samagata make it? Why should Rishabh make it? Why should Sudhanshu make it? That is a question people will expect you to answer. Ye sab badhiya hai, but why you? So sometimes in the logline ke baad jo discussion aata hai na, I get into that. I'm like, you know, I've noticed this about my mom and it was always bothering me. So immediately people understand, oh, you have a personal investment in this subject. That's why you're so passionate. It takes you away from being some robot person and makes you real and vulnerable. Right? So that was another, sorry, something I just remembered that like, you should always try and talk about like, why this, why now, why me? Yeah.
Thanks, Sudhanshu. That was brilliant. Can I request everyone on video? We need to take a master shot. So can you look straight into your cameras and give us the biggest smile?
This is as big as I can handle.
Thank you, everyone. Sudhanshu, first of all, I know you're doing multiple things. And for you to take out this kind of time, seriously, we're so grateful.
No, my
This session wonderful, learned so much. And practically everybody got an opportunity to participate. So this was really unique. But I really want to thank you. I know how packed your schedule is. I know how you prepare for things. So for you to take out 2.5 hours, it's just phenomenal. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for logging in. I hope that this was of value to you. And please spread the word, tweet about this, tell your friends about it. We've got a lot of exciting sessions coming up. Next in line is a session with Richa Chadda, which is on the 12th of October. Registrations are still open for it. Then we have Jaideep Elawat after that. And then we've got Vijay Verma. And like, this is an unlimited series. Till the time that MAMI can continue to exist and there are creators, we'll keep on doing DialMForFilms. So plug into us and thank you so much. And Sudhanshu, thank you again.
Thank you so much, Smriti. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming. I really enjoyed myself. And please, don't hold back. If you are up on Twitter, like feel free to ping. I'll respond where I can. And you're not alone. Like, if you ever feel that way, please know that. Like, even I have days when I feel that way, and I remind myself and I reach out, connect with fellow filmmakers, like, take, like, it's a perennial journey, and it's to be cherished, it's to be celebrated, not to be lamented, not to be felt bad about. There is no making it. There is no filmmaker you admire, you love, who's made it, who doesn't deal with restlessness, who doesn't deal with ineptitude, lack of resources, failure, rejection, constant rejection. That is nature of this journey. It's not something you will eventually get above. It's not happening.